श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। गणानां त्वा घनपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिस्सेदसादनं प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजिनेवदे दीनामवित्रयवदो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ओम जयंती मंगलकाली भद्रकाली कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवदात्री स्वाहा स्वादा नमोस्तुते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Sairam Lane, Sairam from Malaysia.
Sairam Sharma, Sairam from New Zealand. Swami, we thank you especially for the divine information that you give to all of us of your transformational powers. And we welcome our listeners. We hope you enjoy this story of how Swami transformed a homeless wanderer into a great, great servant of the Lord. Om Shri Sai Ram. So our topic today is, in Swami's own words, where are you going? And you know, I learned in an interview that when Swami asks a question of someone, it's a trick question. It nearly always is a trick question because he is looking at your entire time track, your entire past, present, and future. When he asks you a question, he already knows what it is, and he is waking a person up out of their stupor. This is what I have observed in the interview room. I've seen him do this dozens of times. Ask a simple question, and that changes that person's life forever. Now, there was, I am telling a story that I have direct reference to, and he was, his parents were devotees of Shirdi Sai Baba. He's from a little village called Kikiri in the Mandya district of Karnataka. This is in southern India. And coincidentally, the Mandya district is where Prema Sai is to be born. Now, this boy lost his parents when he was very young, and he became an unsettled orphan in a parentless family. So he left home, and for the next 5 or 6 years, he wandered from place to place, visiting holy pilgrimage centers. He was attracted to wandering monks. So when I say he was a homeless wanderer, he wasn't just a sort of a hopeless bum. He was looking for the company of the good, of the holy. And so this is what he did for years and years. And wherever they went, he went. So, you know, he was often visiting sacred places and temples that these monks enjoyed. And on one such journey, they took him to Puttaparthi in 1953 to see the young Sai Baba. And in those days, there was a metallic ark above the main gate of Puttaparthi, and it said, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba Prasanti Nilayam in Telugu. And the word Bhagavan, which we know means God, attracted his curiosity about the reality of Swami. And he had heard about his powers from the monks, so he stayed there for a few days. And at first he wasn't impressed by Swami, because he was in the company of other sadhus who were familiar with tantric tricks. And instead of giving spiritual knowledge, his companionship with some of these so-called sadhus in the past had resulted to this man's addiction to narcotics and the activities allied with narcotics, which is, of course, stealing and selling drugs to make money. So by now, this young man was about 20 years old, and he had been visiting Rishikesh with some of these monks, because he sort of, whichever group of monks he could find, he would hook up with them. And so in Rishikesh, he met a master named Swami Shraddhananda. And the man became his servant for a little time. And this Swami told him about Bhagavan's divine qualities. So, you see, once Swami had visited Swami Shivananda's ashram in Rishikesh. Some of you may have seen these photos. When he was a very young man. And many ascetics in Rishikesh had darshan of Swami. But Swami Shraddhananda did not go to him. He told this young wandering man that Swami could come to us whenever and wherever we yearned for his darshan. And one day, Swami Shraddhananda narrated his experience of Swami's visit to his dwellings, when at the same time Swami was in Rishikesh with Swami Shivananda. And this Swami told this wandering man that his peaceful future would only be with the blessings of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai. And so after this Swami took samadhi, this homeless man returned to South India, and he was quite keen to see Swami by now. He went to Puttaparthi, and Swami didn't speak to him. And the man was very disappointed and upset, because by now his life had no clear direction. And his life with these begging sadhus made him feel ashamed of himself. And so he felt, well, I've got to start doing something. I've got daily needs. I need food. I need clothes. I need water. He began stealing valuable things. He was a clever liar, as many thieves are, and con artists. And he was able to collect money. And by this time, he was also an alcoholic. So we can all see that this fellow is going down a not so good path. Remember, Ramana Maharshi once commented, there are many paths to the mountaintop, meaning, spiritual paths, but be sure to choose a clean path. And obviously this young man wasn't choosing a clear path. So he was in Bangalore, and he heard Swami was in Whitefield. So he rushed to have his darshan, and just then Swami was leaving in his car, and this young man followed him on foot. And Swami was going for lunch to a devotee's place. And Swami saw him standing there and said, come on in and have food, which is just what Swami would do. And when Swami returned to Whitefield, this young man immediately followed the car. And this time Swami spoke to him and said, you had better get some good work without wandering around. This is not good work, that you've got. So this young man by this time was beginning to think, I'd better do what Swami says. And he got a job in a sugar factory. But he wanted to be in Puttaparthi. And he kept going to a bhajan in Mysore, to a gentleman's place, Mr. Shetty. Swami had blessed his house many times. And they often sang a song, O Bhagavan, O Bhagavan. And this was this young man's favorite, and he was often crying out to Swami about his misfortune. He still wasn't earning enough money. So he was thrown out of that job, and he rushed to Parthi. And he happened to see, he was in Bangalore. No, he'd taken the train to Panakanda. And there he saw Swami. And Swami said to him, where are you going? And the man said, well, I'm going to have your darshan at Puttaparthi, and told Swami his problems. And Swami said, you return to your work now. You will be given a permanent job. And he gave the man 20 rupees. And this was quite a bit of money for this young man, but what did he do? He spent every penny of it on sweets and other goodies. This is what happens sometimes when young people get a lot of money. And he returned, I don't know how he got back to Mysore. He must have bought a train ticket. Anyway, Swami's words came true. He got a job, and it was really earning, can you believe, 2 rupees a day. And so he still had plenty of bad habits, and he had to still steal. So he went to Puttaparthi during Shivaratri, and he stole some devotees' clothes. And when he got home, he showed them off as gifts given to him by Swami. Can you imagine that? And he said in those days, the journey to Puttaparthi wasn't so expensive. It was just 6 rupees. But he didn't even have that sometimes. And so he was at Puttaparthi once. He stayed much longer as far as, he didn't have any more money. So he stole a suitcase belonging to a devotee and hid it on the top of the hill beside these big boulders that overlook the ashram. And that devotee cried out to Swami and told him, Swami, I've lost my suitcase. And Swami said, don't worry, you're going to get your things back soon. So the thief was standing with the devotees when Kasturi asked him to come in and see Swami in his room. And Swami scolded this young thief for his behavior and said, will you please return that suitcase? And the young man pleaded with Swami, pardon me. And he said, I'll never do things if you just give me a decent life. And I'm scared of the police, and I'm scared of this publicity I get if it gets out that I stole a suitcase from your devotee. So Swami said, he blessed him, and he said, no big police officer, whatever be his high rank, can ever touch you as long as you have me as your protection. And then he sent Kasturi to get the suitcase. And he gave him the booty, but no money. And so Kasturi told this young man, you are really blessed. And Kasturi gave him the money for his train ticket back to Mysore. Now the job was, sugar factory, not good, very hard work, tiny wages, and he still had, still wanted Swami's darshan all the time. And he had to satisfy himself with a photo of Swami that he kept for worship in his home. And so on Guru Pornima Day in 1963, he was in Puttaparthi and he learned that Swami had a paralytic stroke. And Kasturi said that Swami's sufferings were part of his taking over the pains of a devotee. And it was already been a week that Swami had not been moving. He was in this paralytic state. But on the day before Guru Pornima, Swami was brought out for darshan in a chair, which was held by a number of devotees. And he was completely helpless. His left hand and leg were stiff. Everyone was terribly upset. And just then, Swami asked for a glass of water to drink, which they gave him immediately. And he had a few sips, and this made the young man break down into tears. But Swami's, all of his movement came back, and he was suddenly standing up in front of everyone, speaking in his sweet, sweet voice. Now, this had a huge impact on the young man. And during this day, he explained that his divine play of taking over diseases of his devotees was part of his mission. And he told us about his 3 divine incarnations. One is Shirdi, the second present one at Puttaparthi, and listen up, Premasai devotees, the third to come as Premasai at a place in Mandya district of Karnataka on the banks of the river Calvary. Now, dear listeners, this is the first time I have heard that Swami spoke that it would be on the banks of the river Calvary that Premasai would be born. We always knew Mandya district in Karnataka, but this is the first time I have heard that it's going to be on the banks of the river Calvary. Now, you cross the river Calvary as you're going into Mysore. Just as you come to Sri Rangapatna, the Sri Sathya Sai orphanage, you cross over the Calvary River there, and then it winds further back, and there are many very ancient temples back there. You can see them if you're standing there. So anyway, to finish the story of this lovely man, this completely changing person, he was thinking he would be a completely changed person if he could just devote a life of service to Swami. And he said he thought he would love to settle down on the banks of the river Calvary if only Swami would give him Padnamaskar. And the very next day, Guru Pornima, Swami gave him Padnamaskar. He blessed him. He materialized a pair of amulets that oozed Amrita and told him to go and start an orphanage on the banks of the Calvary River. And indeed, this is what he did. The man's name was Mr. Halagappa, and he began the orphanage, and this prayer room there began filling with beautiful photos of Swami that he put up, and they all began materializing vibhuti, as well as the amulets, which began materializing amrit, and people would come to the orphanage and give donations, unasked for, but always give donations for the support of all the children that were adopted and taken care of by Halagappa and his wife. And he spent the rest of his life serving Swami. My source for this was Sathya Sai, the eternal charioteer. As Guru Pornima 2024 is now upon us, I offer this story at the divine feet of our beloved Lord. If he can transform the life of a drug-addicted, alcoholic thief, he can surely transform any one of us into a lifelong servant at his divine lotus feet. Om Shri Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Om Tasmat Karunya Bhavena Rakcha Rakcha Saiyeshwara. Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Saiyeshwara Arpanamastu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.